Welcome, everyone, to a special holiday edition of Your Impact Attack. That's right, it's Your Impact Attack. And while we do appreciate this holiday cheer and generosity, and we love presents here, you really have got to stop giving us this impact attack. I'm telling you, you are too kind. Too kind. But anyway, yes, I'm Jamie the Vet Williams, and I'm pausing for Ray's intro. And then, as always, I'm joined by my tag team partner, Brandon. How you doing, Brandon?
I am doing super. Thank you for asking. Because apparently our milk carton thing seems to have worked.
It worked. We've already found one person. Should we just get right into that, or should we talk about that when we get to it?
Let's save it for later. That's more fun.
All right, it's a little more fun if we save it. Sometimes you can't open all your presents early. Sometimes the tradition is you just get one. It's one present, one early present, and then you gotta wait for later. But some other people have, some other people that deserve some lovely Christmas gifts this year are with us right now in the chat. What do you say we go ahead and give them the old acknowledgements?
Ooh, the acknowledgement. Ooh.
Yeah. It's Christmas candy. It's a candy cane. It's an acknowledgement candy cane.
Yeah, see, we got Buckshot Kid. Always a pleasure to see you. Lab Brad taking time off from getting tested on. Elizabeth, what is up? Javi Uchida. Whole gang's in the house. Whoop whoop.
Yep. And we'll probably see some people as we ride through the snow on a one horse open sleigh here tonight. I'm gonna try to throw as many Christmas references as I can. And so Liz is already. This will be our first on air acknowledgement maybe that Liz has sent the cookies. So this will be where, as Ray edits the show, he'll probably hear this for the first time here. Not on social media, which he's also probably been aware of. But now this is the latest update. Cookies have been sent. It's in United States Postal Service hands now. If Ray ever gets them, 3 crying laughing emojis. So that's the update that we have here, and everybody's here with us. That's they are wanting to know what happened on this episode of Impact, which was not very holiday themed. But before we get into that, did anything happen during the week that is worth talking about? I think of at least one thing I can mention, but what do you got?
I got some, but it might be the same thing you got.
Well, what do you got?
Well, it turns out that TNA president Scott D'Amore has been in a relationship with one of the TNA knockouts for about 4 years.
That's not what I had. So please go ahead.
On her Instagram page, Giselle Shaw posted a picture of her and Scott D'Amore 4 years apart, celebrating a 4-year anniversary of their relationship.
Really? Huh. Interesting. So, has this been like, is there any other, info on this somewhere besides just an Instagram post, or?
I mean, there's websites reporting on it.
Well, I find that quite, Scott D'Amore is quite progressive in that aspect. Well, so here on this,
What is up, Colin Wysong in the house?
Colin Wysong, the great Colin Wysong, who I was just, I just saw that he'll be making a return to the A Show this week, for a nice little holiday episode of their own. So congratulations, you got Colin on a podcast. It's going to turn into the ridiculously random podcast, and poor April is going to get sucked down into that black abyss of entertainment. Um, yeah, that's Colin asked me a question earlier, privately, but I'll expose it here. He said, let me get this exactly right. I don't want to misquote. Okay, he said 700 matches over 7 years. How old is this wrestler in wrestling years? So, almost like it's almost like a riddle of sorts. I don't know who he was talking about though. But he asked me this question: 700 matches in 7 years. How old is this wrestler in wrestling years or wrestling terms? Well, what would you answer to that, Brandon, if you heard this riddle?
See, 700 matches in 7 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's 100 matches a year.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like the old WCW schedule back in the day, kind of close to it.
Right. So it's about, 2 matches a week, somewhere around there. Work twice a week. Well, my answer was how. Okay, so it's 7 years in the business, 700 matches. I'd say you're about 7 years in the business. In this current, this current time that we have, because that's about what people will get. They'll be lucky if they work twice a week. And that's usually assuming that they're on like one of the major programs, like Raw or SmackDown or AEW or one of their, internet shows. You would probably almost be working 3 times that back in the old days. If you were trying to make a living as a wrestler in a territory, where you're working like 6-7 days a week, or sometimes eight times a week if you have to do double shots or things like that. I mean, then you're looking at, you're probably in there for like what, a year and a half, a year and 9 months. You're 2 years in the business and you got 700 matches. So times have definitely changed now. I think the way you got to make up for it is you have so much other learning material than you would have back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, even 90s, because you can study any match from any era almost and learn from it, whereas that was all you were doing was learning on the fly in the ring, and usually learning the hard way or an embarrassing way or a painful way, which is definitely a quicker way to sharpen your skills. But if you're just simply not able to make enough bookings to equal that amount of road miles, then you've always got a chance to study something at some point from anyone. Or you can always, not always, but you can, if you can get ring time, then that will help. But yeah. So
I think you got to put both of those together. Like if you can put in the hard lessons, learning the hard way, plus studying and learning tape and study and learning the hard way you study. Mm-hmm. That's really how you learn. Okay, that didn't work. Back to the drawing board. Maybe if I did it this way, or maybe just scrap it all together. Try this.
Right. You're still gonna have to trial and error. A lot of things, but to even get the ideas, sometimes you've got just such a wealth of information if it's available to you. However, we know that as generations go on, they become more hapless and pathetic. And it sounds just like one of those things like when we were young, we would always hear old people complain about the youth of today, just like they heard the older people complain about the youth in their day, just like they heard the older people complain about the youth in their day. But really, you have tangible, like, less just like cranky old man complaints now. It's blatantly, even if you're trying to give people credit. Just the other day at work, and this happens all the time, some kid asked me something, and I was like, well, your first mistake was you asked a human when you have Google in your pocket. Like, I don't know why you would bother to ask a human being the question that you asked. You no longer ever have to admit that you don't know anything. The minute you're out there and you're like, you pull out your phone and say, oh, excuse me, I got a text message, and then just Google it real quick. You don't have to be, it's so it's just, even though things are easier than ever, it seems like people still don't take advantage of it because they grew up in this era of information and they take everything for granted. Yeah. Liz says, being Gen X, we hate all the generations, of course, including ourselves. No one more than ourselves. So yeah. But yeah, he says that he remembers my rip quote about years in the business. Yeah, and it was like his quote would have been 7 years, 7 matches. Because it's like, if you're trying to live on the indies and you get what, 1 match a month, if that, so Rip would always say that, like, however many years you claimed that you were a wrestler and then took years off without, the moment you step in a ring, that's when you start counting your years. Hey guys, like I'm a 16-year veteran, man. No, I'm not. I was only active for about 3 years. I'm not going to count the other 13 years after I quit wrestling. You know what I mean? But other people would. So, that's just how that is.
Yeah, you see plenty of those guys on the indie scene. Plenty.
Yeah, and they look like it too. All right, so here I see this Giselle Shaw and Scott D'Amore celebrate 4 years together. They took to Twitter. Again, aging like fine wine. 4 years, huh? All right. Okay. Huh, I wonder what that's about. Interesting. Oh, very progressive of Scott D'Amore.
I will say all the credit. Most people in that position would nepotism the shit out of it. I haven't seen any. Really, any.
Well.
So credit where it's due. Like, in that position, that's a really hard, for anybody in that spot to resist the temptation of, when you're significant others in that spot, to want to push them, and credit where it's due. Right.
Sometimes it's so obvious that you go the other way and vary them a little bit.
Right. Like, where
just so no one accuses you.
Exactly. Whereas this, where it felt like it just there,
Right. Couple other comments. Buckshot Kid saying, you're the vet. Why wouldn't anybody want your opinion 99.9% of the time? It's better than Google. I don't disagree, but but this person doesn't know me as that. This person just knows me as regular old Jamie. So they don't know how much of a, and Javi saying, yeah, but Google doesn't have the experience an actual human might have. I know, but he wasn't asking me that kind of thing. He was asking me a thing that was metrically discoverable on Google. My life experience was to tell him to ask Google. You know what I mean? That it's that kind of question. I don't need to get into the specifics of what he asked, but it was just something that's very simple. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that people shouldn't ask people for things. But in some instances, maybe it's just it's quicker, especially if during the course of the conversation, you found out that, you know, they been thinking about whatever this is for a while and just hadn't done it, not looked into it, even though they were thinking about doing it. So the instant you had the thought, you could have Googled it, right? Instead of waiting however many weeks or whatever to ask somebody else about it when it occurred to you. You know, but anyway. So, well, that was the interesting Scott D'Amore news.
But anyway,
now,
congrats on their 4 years and to, many more.
yes, that's right. Let's raise a diet soda. I can't see what that is.
That's what I had sitting here.
Sure. I'll raise a muffin to, but not right now. The news I had, or it was something, actually the news broke in the middle of my last show, with Ray and, Dr. Jeff Lippman on Next Level, which you can, definitely hear on Channel Attitude. But the whole, Mandy Rose, unfortunately lost her job this week. And, I wondered if you had any thoughts on that or the situation or whatever.
I didn't really read much into it, but the only thing that keeps coming to mind is Paige. Like, how did she keep getting away with stuff that she got to get away with when it's basically the same thing?
Well, what same thing?
Well, like, she had the nude videos get leaked, and like, well, if they're saying like, well, because it was too raunchy or too that, well, how did Paige keep her job and those videos leaked? Or is that because that was her personal stuff that was leaked instead of?
Yes.
There. Okay. To answer my own question. There we go.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, wearing a low cut top on Twitch isn't the same thing as whatever Mandy was doing. So I guess it's a question of, you've got these are all things that are like, they have their own parameters. You have agreements that you worked out with the company.
I saw
what you can and can't do.
I just saw the other comparison. And I just totally forgot his name, but I know by the name he was on there was Mitch Lars Sullivan. Because wasn't that what he got at least knocked back down for when he got the stuff came out, or that's what he got released for, wasn't it? When that stuff came out.
It was never because of that, but
or officially.
Yeah, it wasn't officially because of that, but I'm sure that may have had something to do with it. However, now the comparison again here is somebody that did something once versus somebody that's actively doing things now. So,
while on the payroll.
Right. There's definitely a difference between just uncovering things from people's past, which can still, get you fired or whatever, versus somebody that's actively continuing to pursue another means of income that necessarily violates the policy of the company that you're currently working under. Yeah, so as Liz says, she's actively selling content, which that is a little bit different.
They can say it's a contract violation because they could say it's selling their copyrighted image.
Mm-hmm. Right. So what I'm my point was at the time, and we didn't have any information because the stuff her release was breaking literally as we're recording the show. So, we still don't technically have, we only have the information that's available to us, whether it's from the press releases or, other people's hearsay or things. But just saying things that I've heard, and you can take it with whatever grain of salt that you want. But basically the story that I've been able to piece together was that Mandy has had her little, whatever this site was called, Brand Army, doesn't really sound very sexy. But it's but it's one of those. It's like an OnlyFans. It's a premium exclusive content for fans, and she was doing. She had the channel, and the WWE knew about the channel or her page or whatever, and they knew everything that she was doing. But she was like taking the content out of the bounds of what they had agreed upon and was acceptable, I guess, and so they had to say, hey, don't do that. And she apparently refused to not do what she was doing. So it's not like, oh, they leaked a video, you're fired. It was more like they approached her and she refused to stop. So she's probably making a statement of, first of all, why would you ramp up the content if you were very protective of your current job? Why should I continue to let other girls throw me around a ring when I can just take my top off and make the same amount of money? Is probably what she's thinking, and wanting to transition out of that. So this could have been just like a poking the bear situation. That's speculative on my part. It still seems silly that you would want to turn down a revenue stream, especially if she was making what people claim that she made. Then to add that on top of a WWE contract, it seems like, well, just put it away for a rainy day. You never know what's going to happen. So, but anyway, it does seem like that there was some sort of a discussion back and forth, and then they had to come to their decision. However, who came to these decisions, I'm not sure, because another thing that I heard floating around was that Shawn Michaels was blindsided with the news of her being released. Or
yeah, that's new.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows if you can believe that? I don't necessarily believe it. Just something I heard, so I'm throwing it out there. Why not? Let's throw things out there. Let's start rumors. If so. Yeah. Now, if you heard, and my thoughts on this were basically very simple, based on the knowledge I had at the time, which was, look, we all know what we should and shouldn't do, and it's up to you to make those decisions. Ray was saying that he felt sad that Mandy was gone because she'd been doing such good work. And I was, I more had the attitude of, well, I don't feel sorry for people that, throw away their opportunities or whatever for different opportunities. I mean, if she is making more than she's making at WWE doing this, then I'm happy for her if she chose to do that. I mean, there could have been another way. She could have just she could have just decided to retire from wrestling and then continue on with this, rather than somewhat take the, I would say, not disgraceful way out, because I don't think it's necessarily disgraceful, but it seems like that. It seems more like that in the public eye, like you were forced out or fired or whatever. I'd rather make it seem like it was on my terms and no one can spin it. But whatever. But yeah, I don't really feel sad. We all know the rules of the world we live in, and we choose to play by them or not. That's basically what it is. It doesn't matter if you have a moral standpoint on it. It's just, who are you working for, right? So, she kind of knew what she was doing. And then there were people that were saying, oh, it's hypocrisy because you had women pose for Playboy and back in the day, and all you've done is sexualize Mandy ever since she's been on your television, and
And also too, like, I'm sure Vince got a cut of those Playboy deals.
Sure. And also, that was something that anybody could have refused at any time. If the company's suggesting that you do something like this, you don't think they suggested that to Stacy Keibler? Of course they did.
I think, wasn't it Trish Stratus that said, like, how many times she said she had to turn it down?
Yeah, exactly. There were people that didn't do it. And that's different, not only because, those are those are fully supervised and tasteful pictures in a major publication, not just a random pool video on the internet, which still shouldn't be enough to do it. Maybe that's not, I didn't see any of the content from the page, so I don't know what all she did that may have like pushed the envelope. But still, it's not the same. And the people that are using the argument, just for the people that are saying like a woman has a right to do what she wants with her own body. Yeah, I guess to a degree. If it's for your own personal satisfaction, that's called exhibitionism. And there are rules and laws against that in places too. But anytime there's money involved, it's prostitution, period. There's no other way to slice it. So we can't use that as a moral high ground of a woman has the right to do what she wants with her body. Everyone else has the right to react to it the way we have our society laws set up. Too bad if we don't like those laws. Too bad if we'd rather see boobies all the time. But it's just not like that here. This country was founded by Puritans in its current form. So, we're always going to struggle with that sexuality thing.
Plus, you can always get indie dates too once there are no compete clauses out.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's it's just, I guess it is. It's an unfortunate situation in the sense that you don't like to hear that somebody's been fired, but it appears that this is what she wanted.
She'll be all right. She'll bounce back. She'll find something.
Right. I will say this though, that I heard Billy Body's take on keeping it 100 of that. A lot of the time when you have a situation like this, he was saying that for the people that have these like OnlyFans type sites and everything, a lot of the reason that the money is so good is because she's a public figure in the WWE, right? So, if you don't know who Mandy Rose is, you're probably not going to stumble upon this page on your own. So the WWE is driving traffic to this. It's like, I get to see somebody that I almost see naked on TV actually naked now. So she's got a lot of people that are doing that and signing up for her page and everything like that. Well, now without the WWE's support, she's not going to get new fans, and the fans that have seen this now, the ones that were paying, they may not continue to pay because they've already seen everything. There's only so much content that you can say. Once you've seen a chick naked, how many times are you going to give her the however much a month, Like, it may not work out. So the money may disappear in the long run because she's not constantly getting new traffic. So that's something to consider too, for anybody that thinks she's just going to coast on this. I'm sure she'll be fine. No, I have no doubt of that. Because there are people that are loyal and like to spend money on these type of things. They are out there, but it's not going to be an infinite source of income, I don't think, forever. And she's probably going to want to do something else. A Buckshot Kid says if she has that 90 days clause in her contract, why not get paid not working in the ring and keep doing what she's doing? I don't think she does. It was reportedly she didn't have a 90-day clause because it was an instant termination. So Tony theoretically could have flown her into Dynamite that Wednesday and had her show up, and he didn't do that. They have their own interesting ideas about people and who should or shouldn't be banned from certain buildings based on certain things. So who knows why he wouldn't have done that, but he could have. Allegedly he could have.
What's Amanda Tulip doing in the Dynamite Zone?
yeah, so that meme, Amanda Tulip, it's pretty great. It's funny because not only is Tulip a flower, but Two Lips is what they were seeing on her Brand Army page. I think maybe, probably. All right. Anyway, enough jokes. So, Javi saying, anyone see a wild Jonah on Raw tonight? Oh man, did they bring him back? Jonah. Was that him? Was he there? I don't know. I'm not watching Raw. I'm doing this show for you guys. I'm glad to know that you're paying close attention, though, while you're watching Raw. Anyways, what do you say we jump into this episode of Impact?
Let's get it.
Got the muffins here. And we're going to kick our Impact episode off with Fat Eddie versus Thin Delirious. We standard opening Impact with a match. What did you... there's really nothing much to say here except to talk about the match. So what did you think about the match itself?
Just a get-over match for Eddie. We're probably not going to see Delirious again.
Okay. Anything else?
I mean, it's decent enough. Would like to send more character work.
Okay. Well, so here's what I saw, because I kind of was paying attention this time. And
Colin summed it up.
Show is better when it's all about Moose. It was almost never all about Moose. Unless you're talking about our show, like the Impact Attack. Yes, we tried to make it more about Moose, but it just became sad. We when Moose shows up for 2 seconds like he did on this episode, it's really hard to base the whole show around him anymore. But he's always there in the corner, ready to fight the founder. So what I noticed here was, like, watching Delirious in this match, the one thought that came to my mind was that he should probably think about hanging it up. Like, as far as an in-ring competitor, I'd say hang up the boots, but he doesn't wear any footwear, so I don't know what he'd hang up the mask, hang up the pants. He just didn't look like... It looks like he's not doing this consistently enough anymore to be as sharp probably as he wants to be. He definitely looked off by a step. The stuff that they were doing, there was the sequence early on when they're trying to do that whole Ring of Honor technical wrestling, trying to go for near falls early indie appreciation spot stuff. It would looked as routine and going through the motions with no effort, and just like I can't explain it if you didn't see it, other than it just looked like robots trying to perform this thing. There was, like, you schoolboy somebody and there's no like attempt to hold them down. You're just like wrapping their arm around the leg, and then they just you're already moving off them to get back up before they even kick out type thing. Like, I don't remember him being like this bad. We know what's happened to Eddie, we realize that he's given up. But Delirious just looks slow in there, and just his stuff that he does is just weak looking. And he's in there in a match with a fucking Christmas ham who's too fat to do anything anymore, and it still looks like he's the more coordinated and in shape one of the two. So I don't know. I would just say, like, whatever teaching capacity that he's in now, maybe he should just focus on that. Because he's not going to be able to have enough matches to where he's not going to look rusty every time he's in there. That's just me, though. I don't know. Anyway, afterwards, Eddie gets a little bit more heat on Delirious because they do the whole handshake and I'm going to raise your hand thing. And then, of course, he turns on him. No one couldn't have seen that coming. And he probably would have had to do that anyway, because it seems like the fans there were very confused. They started chanting, "Let's go, Eddie," unless they were being sarcastic. But it's not, that was the wrong person for them to cheer for in that situation, because, I would have thought Delirious would have been the baby face in that scenario. But anyway, he tries to beat him up afterwards, and then Uemura comes out, gets a back elbow, and then rolls out of the ring forever. And, so I guess he wasn't that concerned. And then
Screw this.
Yeah, fuck it. Why'd I come out here? And then Eddie goes back and tries to take Delirious's mask off. And then we get our save with music. Jonathan Gresham comes out, and he gets in there, and Eddie backs off, and there's no physicality. They just, Jonathan Gresham doing the classic pro wrestling gestures of, putting your arms wide and saying, "What are you doing?" and whatever. And Eddie just leaves, and Gresham's just standing there. So the octopus is back in the impact zone. Who let an octopus in the impact zone? Let's get some salt water out here for this octopus. I don't know. Jonathan Gresham's back.
And they could have really got to this shit without even doing a match. Just have Eddie do a cheap low blow, beat down, go for a weapon. Gresham was out with a weapon and runs Eddie off.
Hit his music?
No music.
Yeah, okay.
Just making sure.
Because Uemura didn't get music. He ran straight down there and just started firing forearms, Jonathan Gresham's so what are we supposed to think? Like, Jonathan Gresham's just back there with like a fanny pack and a cigarette sitting on a chair that some young kid gave up so that he could sit on it. And then he sees Uemura run out there and get the back elbow. And then he's like, fine, I'll do it myself. Hit my music. Like, I couldn't be bothered to run out there with you. I see a Japanese man run past. I just stay put,
Yeah, and you just have the announcer say, recent, new ring of signee, standing up for his old friend.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah. Elizabeth saying his wife carried him in with her. Jonathan Gresham. Yes. And then Colin's attempted humor. I'm not going to put that over. That's why he's not on shows anymore. That's the real reason. He's making it seem like he stepped away. Yeah, we just kicked him out for jokes like that. That's what really happened. So, that's a shoot. All right. So next is D'Amore. Scott D'Amore is low key complaining to Josh Alexander about going almost to Broadway last week. And then he's not going to let him repeat it this week, which he wants to. And then another fat guy in a t-shirt wanders in and tries to apologize to Josh, but it's been 3 weeks that he's had a chance to apologize, and he's waiting till this on-air segment to try to apologize. In fairness, he did try to stop him in the hallway last week, but nothing after that, I guess. Nothing before that, nothing after that with the apology. So he tries to do it here, and Josh is like, nah, I don't accept your apology, or whatever he said. It doesn't matter. He just didn't accept the apology. And
I believe he also accused him of being in on it, working with Bully.
Yeah. At the very least, he suggested it. So, yeah, there we are. We have D'Amore complaining about a Broadway, and Tommy trying to apologize. And that was that. What'd you think?
I mean, it shows that, we get it, Scott. You're close with the family. We don't got to keep hammering home every show.
Yes. Well, he loves putting that over, that he's somebody. So the best part about this was it was yet another backstage scene where the lighting was normal.
Yep.
And as we would see throughout the show,
it looks like, we're winning. It has not won. We are winning.
Right. I'm going to wait for them to publicly concede defeat before I will take the credit for winning the war. But the tide has definitely turned. So either that or they forgot to pack the lights on this one truck when they did the set of tapings. But I don't think that's the case because we seen Delirious, or maybe they only brought the green one, even though I thought that the whole point of these was you could change the colors, but they brought the green one because Delirious had one last week and Burt Macklin had one this week. So, in any case, those are separate entities from the other normal backstage segments. Now, we go from this to something, a match that's, or an entrance that's already in progress. Bully Ray's already in the ring with his opponent, who's really already in the ring, and so that's John Schuyler. Remember John Schuyler? Yes.
I remember John Schuyler.
Yes, the guy I couldn't remember is back. And you know, he's in his usual what do I describe this as? Like the upscale, like the more professional looking indie uniform. Remember, the indie uniform used to be kind of what Tommy Dreamer wears. Like it's like a t-shirt and the pants that look like they're made out of a trash bag. But now if you want to be, if you want to look like the guy that's like on the indies, that's like, oh, this guy's he's ready to sign with a major company. Now the uniform is long tights with the belt, which the belt, I guess, doesn't really help at all. It's just ornamental because, you know, in the main event of this show, legendary influential wrestler Alex Shelley was pulling his pants up while he was selling. So I guess the belt's really just not effective. Yeah, so anyway, long tights with a belt, kick pads, the carrot haircut, and a beard. Like that's, you know, we could call it the Buddy Murphy. We could call it lots of different wrestlers who have adopted this same look, and John Schuyler is certainly one of them. I guess you could describe John Schuyler, if you've never seen him, he's if Buddy Murphy, if Buddy Murphy started letting himself go like Eddie Edwards, like if Buddy Murphy started getting mentored by Tommy Dreamer, but he was still taking his shirt off, that's kind of what John Schuyler looks like. So, yeah. But anyway, yeah, this doesn't last long, of course. And then Tommy confronts.
The best part was like on the announcer trying to say like, well, last week we had Alexander and Bailey, so Bully gets John Schuyler. Really, you're gonna compare the two? Really?
Yes. Well, that's heat, brother. So Tommy Dreamer comes out, and you know, he confronts Bully, of course. 3 weeks later, you know, you know, I'm gonna wait a while to confront you, but I'll wait till you're in the ring and we have microphones and I can confront my friend Bully. So that's fine. But this, you know, again, what did everybody say? This is just, it's wrestling, man. It's wrestling. So yeah, sure, go ahead, let's do it. Yeah, and then you know, Tommy cries, so that's always good. Buckshot Kid says that the second part of his promo was probably the best promo he's ever done, I suppose. He's screaming and crying about how much he gave to this business, and no one asked him to do it, and no one cares. I mean, you know, you did this to yourself. You could have learned how to work, and you could have actually been talented, but instead you just wore street clothes and were fat, and you were the shits your whole career. So I don't, you know, we don't owe you anything, really. You stuck around, and I guess that's good enough. So there you go. Yeah. Ding dong. I love it. So yeah. But anyway, but that's what I think of Tommy Dreamer in this promo. What about you? Did this work for you?
I thought it worked for me. Bully came off like just a unrepentant prick piece of shit.
Yeah. Yeah. His part was fine.
I mean, you got to be to basically say screw your mother in the hospital.
Right. Yeah.
And actually sound like you mean it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. Next is major players. So this was on social media, where the major players, I guess, confronted Decay, and on any of these social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, they have not turned off the lights yet. So it's still like they're still like in the trenches fighting. Like they're not quite raising the white flag yet. Um, but but yeah, so still a little bit of lighting things there, but that's fine. Um, and then we get that leads us to our match here, which is the major players versus Decay. Of course, that being Crazy Steve and Black Taurus. Crazy Steve is jumped on his way to the ring by Trey Miguel. He's jumped and tagged. And then by the time Taurus figures out what's going on, Trey's out of there. And they have to ask him, are you okay to compete? And of course, Crazy Steve is crazy. So he's going to say, yes, of course he's okay.
It's got me thinking, how long until you start teaming Trey and Macklin together as tag him and bag him?
Not a bad idea. I don't have an answer for you, though. I don't know how long it'll take. But the tag team division needs a boost. So I'm not opposed to it. Anyway, the match goes on. They have a match. Major players win with a top rope drive-by or a second rope drive-by, whichever. So yeah, that's that. Decay is beaten. Very good. That's it. Anything to add to this whole thing other than a great tag team name idea?
I mean, it's a decent match. I just still find out they're still trying to get over the toy drive. I mean, it's great that they're doing the toy drive. It's tough to sell them as douchebag heels when they're doing good things for kids like that. Like what they said, like 6,000. I mean, that's a really good thing they did. And that's like, all right, now we're gonna try to believe these guys are assholes. Like, I'm sorry, that doesn't work for me.
Doesn't work for you, brother? All right.
That doesn't work for me, brother.
That's fine. Yeah, I mean, this is just how wrestling is now. You're not gonna get guys really trying to keep up any sort of appearances outside of the ring. You're constantly telling people it's phony all the time. I mean, there's nothing left that can be done about it. It's just gonna now, because you always hear Ben talking about protecting your business and all this other shit, as he says it out of character on a podcast, right? So there's really just no hope for any of this anymore. So now when people do try to like stick up for their business, they just look stupid for doing it. It's like, look, nobody believes you, dude. You're a phony wrestler. You look stupid. You're the weird one now. You're the one that's ruining everything. Unless you're MJF, in which case, he's pretty good at walking that line. But everybody else, it's kind of like, yeah, I don't know. So, I guess. Next is Jordan Grace and Mickey James contract signing. And we got Scott D'Amore with his headset presiding over this. He didn't get interrupted, thankfully, during this, so his headset stayed around the neck. Interesting point. Jordan Grace exercised her champion's prerogative to sign first. That was the actual phrase that was said by Scott on this program.
I think he intentionally hams these contracts up and makes them like over the top ridiculous. Like, all right, you know what this means if you sign this, and what's going to happen, Mickey, if you lose? Like, no shit, she knows.
It was her idea. No one asked her to do this. Oh, I forgot. I said I was going to retire if I lost. Oh, yeah. Thanks for reminding me, Scott. Um, so, yeah, I mean, obviously that's silly. But again, there's no weird lights in this room, so I'm good. Not to say that the lighting is great, but at least the lighting is normal. Now that we've moved on from RGB, we can focus on maybe, a little different setups for our interiors. But regardless, Tasha and Savannah crashed the signing, and Tasha brings up the point that Mickey James never beat her, so she ain't gonna have this last rodeo without, taking on Tasha. She wants to be the one to retire Mickey, and they're saying how well, we've already signed the papers, so it's too late. What are you trying to pull? So it ends up being, Scott's gonna put Evans and Steels in a match against Grace and James. So that's what we're gonna get next week. I guess technically we have a precedent that if Mickey loses a tag match, she also has to retire because we had that. What was it, like a six
Yep.
woman match? And
Yeah,
it
it was Mickey, Jordan, Taylor against Vexed and Giselle.
right, and yeah, I assumed that that wouldn't count, but apparently it did. Maybe it would have counted even if it wasn't Mickey that got pinned. Like if her team lost, she had to retire. Like I don't know how that works, but I don't know how it'll work this time. But I mean, we'll see. Interesting way to get out of it. If Mickey has to retire, what are we gonna do about our Knockouts title match at Hard to Kill? Anyway,
Tasha saved the segment.
she kind of, yeah. I mean, it was just
With
it was
logic.
okay. It was
And
okay, but it wasn't, yeah.
and she had, logical, reasonable beef for like, hey, you forgot about me.
Yeah. So yeah. So there's that. So last week on the social media thing, they showed, this is when Mike Bailey was coming back through the curtain after that, that Broadway he shouldn't have had, and everyone was like clapping for him. It was like a, one of those curtain sellouts or whatever. Everybody's waiting to give him a standing ovation when he comes back, and Kenny King is leading sounds like a very facetious speedball chant with the people, and then he says, "Hey man, just because I got a problem with this guy doesn't mean I can't, give it up for him when he blah blah blah," and then he just spits water on him and shoves him. It's like, okay, so there's that. And then we move on to current day times with Bailey with Gia and no music underneath. He says that he will have a match with Kenny King if Kenny King wants, but he will not play games with him. So there you go. A little more, just a standard continuation of whatever the storyline is. Nothing amazing, nothing earth-shattering, but keeping up with the continuity, I'd say. Anything to add to this?
I'm really liking the character development with Mike Bailey. Like when he first came on, I was thinking like, vanilla wrestler doing flippies, but he's come a long way as far as character goes since then, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah. Seems like a karate nerd. That's fine.
I mean, he makes it work for him. He makes it work for him.
Somebody has to be a karate nerd. I don't see anybody else doing it, so he's got to do it. Which is the same way I described Orange Cassidy when I first saw him. I was like, well, I guess somebody had to be the guy that wrestles with his hands in his pockets. It's gonna happen eventually. Might as well be him. So there you go.
And when he like slowed down and paced himself in the match with Josh, I thought he did his best babyface work I've seen him do.
Yeah. Well, I wish I could agree with you, but I was probably not paying attention for most of that. So I'll just take your word for it that he did that. Okay, next is the Sammy Callahan segment. So I'm just going to crack open the muffins right off the bat. I'm not even going to say who he's wrestling yet. I'm just going to take a quick bite. Hold on, pardon me. Oh. Okay. Cranberry orange. Very tasty. Moist. All right, from representing the Designed, we've got Angels. How does that name strike fear into your heart, Brandon? Angels. You wouldn't want to be standing across the ring from Angels. That's like one angel, but like multiple angels.
I'm shaking in my boots already.
Wow. Yeah. Understandable. Yeah, so what is this like? Did Vince McMahon start working for Impact part-time too? Like, goddamn, pal, you don't need a first name. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck is Angels? You know, like, I guess this is supposed to be like Diener. Like, you lose first names being in this crew. Is that like just part of the ritual or what?
I don't know, and they have the cult gimmick where you change your name and it's like, I know you do just drop the first one.
Yeah, that's it. That's all you do. Everybody knows that. Yeah. Colin Whitesong says, Dreamer would be very upset you didn't eat a muffin during his segment. Well, it wasn't that bad, so even though I could have eaten a tribute muffin to Tommy, and I certainly could have eaten one for Eddie Edwards, I just didn't really feel like it.
Also, something too that was revealed during that segment was Bully said that he was the one who attacked Ace Austin.
Right. As if there was any doubt, but at least they closed that loophole or whatever.
So hopefully they'll do some follow up with that, with Ace Austin and Bay trying to get at least some kind of retribution.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll see. They were not successful in winning the Super Junior Tag League tournament, so they can be heading back anytime now. Unless they're planning to stay for Wrestle Kingdom or anything else. Buckshot Kid says, is it just me or is Sammy taking up more of the camera? No, it's not just you. Don't be ridiculous. So anyway, Sammy Callahan versus Angels. Let me explain why wrestling sucks now in just one micro, just like one micro example, but it explains a lot of how when you're always hearing me say about, like, wrestling, you couldn't be any more fake in wrestling. The business is dead. Like I was just saying about people protecting their characters, and it doesn't even matter because everything is it's all ruined now. So here's this group of 3 guys, right? Now, just the other week, 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, we saw this guy Diener commit a knife murder, allegedly, on television. So we know what kind of people these are. Knife murderers. I'm not even going to call them the Design anymore. I'm just going to call them the Knife Murder Gang. All right? They're all accomplices in this, to this murder, and we haven't seen Eric Young until he shows up on Raw with Jonah. But
at the very least, we saw Diener straight up stab a dude, so we know what they're capable of.
All right. He took a knife and he plunged it into something. Now, we couldn't see on camera what it was, but we just gonna assume it was Eric Young because that's who was there last. All right? But the point is, that's the kind of people that we're supposedly dealing with. So that's what you've put out there. I didn't ask you to put that out there. You put that on TV. Now you have this match with Sammy Callahan. Okay? And they do this spot where Sammy is going to dive on these guys, which you better be careful that none of them are holding knives so he doesn't puncture himself. But he goes to run the spot, and we all know Sammy's fat ass ain't doing a dive, right? He wouldn't even fit through between the ropes. I don't even know how he gets in the ring. So I don't think he's gonna do a dive or whatever. So it's a fake spot. Like it's the idea is he goes to dive, and then Diener moves, but Khan is standing there, and it's like, oh, I'm not gonna dive on this guy, even though with the height difference you probably still outweigh him, and then so you do that spot, and that's designed to distract Sammy so that Angels can come back around, right, and get in the ring. Well, what does Angels do when he gets in the ring, Brandon? Do you remember?
Refresh me.
Okay. He runs up to Sami Callihan, grabs him by the shoulder, and turns him around and takes a swing at him.
So if you're the heel, you're supposed to hit him when his back is to you.
It's just that simple, right? I think everybody in the chat could have answered the question of what you were supposed to do in that situation. But I'm an evil knife murderer, and I'm going to run up and I'm going to turn you around by the shoulders so that we can do our spot. It's awful hard for me to watch. So yeah, but Sammy valiantly fights back against the gang with vicious chops, slaps to the chest, like he normally does. And he ends up winning. And then he gets jumped and beaten up. And then they sit on him. Diener sits on him, so that's cool. Anytime that someone can use Sami Callihan as a nice, comfy beanbag chair, I'm for it. But take a bite for that one wing on the pants. Yeah, sure, why not? He ain't Kenny Omega, so I don't know why he gets a one wing on the pants. Anything else to add to this debacle? No?
No, I think Diener's fitting in or settling into the roles as cult leader nicely.
He does look like a creep.
Yeah, and he's kind of carrying himself a little bit differently too, as well. Like he's character-wise, like he seems to have a different aura about him. I mean, and he should after what he's done. There should be like a different kind of presence about him when he steps in. Like this dude did that,
Yeah.
Or that's what they're trying to get us to believe.
Sure. Of course, there will be no consequences or repercussions for this. He's a free man. So. Yeah. All right. Well, next, Scott D'Amore's 4-year relationship is got Jay Vidal, and they're trying to recruit Deanna to get the Knockouts tag team belts. With her logic being, you were supposed to get this shot with Chelsea, but she ain't here, so it should just be you and me. And then Deanna's like, okay. Very exciting and intriguing here.
Could set up an interesting angle too if when Chelsea comes back, they Shaw or Giselle and Deanna do get in the belts to get the jealous friend angle.
Yeah, could do that. Now, with Chelsea, they're just doing that Mickie James story, right? Where she walked out with her suitcase, her rolling case, and said she's going home, right? So they're still doing that. Nothing has happened to her.
It's I believe that's Jay Vidal, or Jay Vidal. He was there for the Impact or for the Vegas tapings last year, and they impressed him enough to where they signed him this year.
Yeah.
And yes,
I hate by asking,
and I do
isn't
agree with
this
that.
isn't this cult leader thing a little played out? Of course it is. You just see the same shit in wrestling. Everybody's like, no, I'll do it. This is my take on it. You haven't seen my take on this. Fuck off. Every wrestler is a cult leader. Think about it. You ever go to somebody's Instagram post and look at all the mark-ass comments underneath it? Like, you don't think they're a cult?
Dude, there was this one promotion I wrestled for in Colorado, and this dude, the promoter was on the show, and his whole gimmick was he was the provider, and he was such like a mark for himself. Like he carried that gimmick outside of the show.
Really? He believed his own. He lived his own gimmick, huh? Well, all right. The machine guns warm up, and then we get a free tarot card reading. And I'm just like, okay, what the hell is this? And even when it was over, I was still like, what the hell is this? But then, Tom Phillips or whoever was just like, oh, I guess it's a new look for Taylor Wilde. Or I was like, okay. This vignette made her look a lot older than she normally appears. Now I know she's not like the youngest person, but she really looked aged in this, so I didn't even really think about it being her.
Which could be intentional with the gimmick she's going for.
Yeah. Well, apparently she's some kind of a witch. I'm looking at this, I'm like, I expect to see this on NXT. Not so much Impact, but they already have a much younger Isla Dawn doing this, so I'll stick with that, thanks. But here's something. Here's the okay. So this is where they condense again all the stuff I want to see goes into this one segment here. Which is Gujar and Joe Hendry.
Although we kind of got to go back to this because our Milk Carton Minute actually found a missing wrestler.
Oh, that's right. This is the missing wrestler. We are asking, where's Taylor Wilde? Well, apparently she got a new career as Miss Cleo or whatever. So, here you go. Call her now for your free reading.
And a phony baloney accent.
She should just do an accent, right?
And also still missing is Laredo Kid, Killer Kelly, and Raj Singh and Shara. Where have you been?
All right, we're keeping an eye out. If anybody has any information on the whereabouts of these people, please just keep it to yourself and wait till next week. Okay.
Send out the runaway train signal.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, back to Joe Hendry. Let's talk about Joe Hendry more. So he's out there teaming with Bhupinder Gujar, and they're taking on Zicky Dice and Johnny Swinger. Now Johnny Swinger's got to win 50 matches, and he'll get a title shot. So they're going about their business, having this match, and then all of a sudden, a wild moose appears, wearing the sneakers with the suit like Pee Wee Herman. And he pulls Joe Hendry off the apron and then goes to clothesline him, and Hendry ducks and grabs a microphone and like backs away from Moose the entire time. He's trying to like talk him down. He's backing up the ramp. And then as soon as he gets around the corner backstage, like once he gets up the stage and back through the entranceway, the mic apparently stops working and he has nothing else to say. I thought it would have been funny if you could have heard him like while the rest of the match is going on, and he's like, "No, Moose, no," and like you hear stuff falling over, like that would have been good, but they didn't do that. While all this is happening, Johnny Swinger eats the gargoyle spear, and that's one more match the Swingers had that's not gotten him any closer to a title shot. So here we get about a solid 1 minute of entertainment out of this whole thing. And then they take the entertaining guys and get rid of them. So this is where we're at now.
And they had the perfect excuse and out to have Swinger go over and get like that one match toward the 50.
They set it up to where I thought they might actually do that.
That's what I was thinking too. Like, oh,
But then
shit,
I'm
they're
like,
actually
you're
gonna-
not going to beat Gujar like that. You know, these guys would have to hit him with an anvil to pin this guy the way he's been pushed. So, yeah. All right, well, you can call this a preemptive muffin bite, even though I'm going to get a new one. I'm not going to try to eat it out of the bottom of the paper. Because here we have the two guys, Jason Hotch and John Schuyler, sitting here having a moment where they appreciate each other. You know, just like two guys appreciating each other, not in a gay way or nothing, just really liking each other and what they bring to the table and how they're underappreciated, and they decide that they're going to form a tag team, probably. And you know, what do you think this tag team is going to be called? The Good Hands? Is that probably what they're going to call it? Some more business exposing shit.
I was thinking more along the lines of Lenny and Lodi.
Yeah, they're not going to call the tag team name that.
Nope, that's all I was thinking this entire time was Lenny and Lodi.
That would actually be funny if somebody just named their tag team two other guys' names. Like, why not? Right? On commentary, they didn't mention Swinger's record that he's won 39 matches, so maybe he just needs to win 11 more.
That'd be interesting.
That's a good, well, yeah, we weren't going to have him win 50. That's for sure. But even winning 11 seems like it might as well be 100. I foresee a lot of picture-in-picture BTI footage in the upcoming weeks. Yeah.
Or he gets two in a row. He thinks he's Goldberg, and then he loses the third one.
Oh man. Yeah. So anyway, the they go to shake hands or whatever, but then they seal the deal with the worker handshake, which I'm sure you got this reference, but I don't know if some of the people did. They probably most of the people here would have got it if they saw it. But just in case not, you know, there was the whole thing about handshakes where there became, at some point in wrestling, there became this thing where supposedly...
light handshake meant light worker.
Right. And people would actually just like they would do like this dead fish little limp wristed like almost like Prince John, like, you know, like hold out, yes, respect the royal hand, you know, like
kiss the ring, bitch.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there and I'm just like, what am I supposed to do with this? I'll tell you, not one person I ever shook hands with in the wrestling business that was worth a fuck ever tried to shake my hand like that.
I'll never forget Steve
like when I like if I'm shaking hands with, say, a Regal or a Finley or a Dave Taylor or a Batista or you know, whoever, doesn't matter who, CM Punk, whatever names you could think of, not one of them ever did this. So, you know who did do that? There's one guy that gave me the fish. Guess who? I'll let you guys guess. Go ahead and guess who. You won't guess, but one guy gave take my strong hand, child.
Pass.
Yeah. Well, I'll let the chat take some stabs at it, but But yeah, so you know, this is using insider stuff on TV, which I'm not a fan of. But
Yeah, like this sort of thing was sort of something that, yeah, you and I would laugh at and find it funny, but like no one else would get it.
right, yeah, even if you get it, it's not that funny. All right, here's some guesses: Shark Boy, John Cena, Chris Jericho, one of Taker's Druids. No. Oh, why would you guys know one of Taker's Druids? As somebody you would know. Yeah, at least you probably would know. Um,
I will admit
all
though,
right.
that's how I was brought up. Was that that kind of handshake? I was told it was called the workers' handshake, and I was believed it the entire time until I went to go do it to Steve Carino. He's like, "Nah, fuck that shit. Shake my hand like a man."
Yes. Right. The king of old school said, shake my hand like a man. Well, there you go. Yeah. In life, you shake hands a certain way. There is no, you know, unless you're doing like some secret club handshake or whatever. If you put your palm in another person's palm to shake hands like a traditional greeting, you have a firm but not squeezing grip, and you shake it a couple of times, and that's enough. You don't have to like, you know, there. You don't have to give anybody a light handshake. They should know you're there. That's world etiquette. And you take the world into wrestling. You don't let wrestling dictate what the world does. So what you really get is if you shake somebody's hand and they do that, they're a fucking mark, right? So anyway, no, the person the person that did that was Pat Buck, legendary producer. Uh, you know, he was responsible for all WrestleMania's success this year. Uh, Pat Buck, that's right. So, um, let's see. Then Rhino and Heath are getting ready for their match. And then we get the Burt Macklin promo here with the green lighting and the music underneath. You know, he gets in and out and talks about what he used to do back in the soldier days, and then he hits him with the catchphrase to go home, tag him and bag him, whatever, or mayhem for all. And then, yeah, there you go. So
He's the guy they're gonna who's gonna go over Josh for the belt. I think.
Macklin is?
I think that's what they're setting him up for.
Wow. Think so, huh? I don't know about that. But you know, we're here at the main event now. It's the Motor City Machine Guns versus Heath and Rhino for the Impact Tag Team Championships, and the Impact player, not Impact players. The fuck. I'm pretty sure the Impact players are not banned from ringside. But the major players are banned from ringside since they interfered last time and ruined it. I'll let you go first if you have anything to say about this.
My main takeaway was drink every time you hear an announcer say forearm shiver on this show.
Well, I don't have a drink, but I have a muffin. I can bite.
Well, and that if you were to take a bite of your muffin every time that happened, you'd be as fat as Tommy Dreamer.
That's right. I'm getting there. Yeah, that's it.
I mean, that's, a standard tag match, but it would make sense. It makes sense that Heath and Rhino wouldn't really hold the belts too long. I mean, their story was more in the chase and the eventual capture of the titles, not really holding them too long. Like if their story was like, a movie, it would be more like, they win it, maybe a little addendum, epilogue afterwards, and then roll credits.
Did you really feel like they got the most out of that? Like in terms of, I never really felt like there was a focus on Heath and Rhino's chasing. I mean, they mentioned it from time to time, but it just felt like, to me, it just felt flat. Like, I don't really care if they win or not. And then when they won, I was like, I don't really care. And that's not just me being me saying I don't care. Like, I still, even if I'm disinterested in the whole thing, I can still, like, put myself in the shoes of what they're trying to go for. Like, to think, like, whoever would have been a fan of this would like this, as opposed to being disappointed by it. And I felt like if you're fans of Heath and Rhino, yeah, it's nice that they won the tag belts and all, but it didn't feel that special, or it didn't feel like they were building it up that much. Not as much as they could have, but, you know.
I mean, they did have a consistent, like, week to week story, at least their characters did, but I do agree they could have emphasized their journey towards the titles more like, oh shit, Honor No More, they took out my best friend. We're trying to get the tag team titles before the end of the year, and I don't know how long he's going to be out.
Right. It was a lot more about Heath Slater running and hitting his finish on somebody and then escaping through the crowd.
Right? Like, they could have emphasized his reasoning for wanting to take them out more, like, this is why I'm going after them because of this promise we made to each other, and they may have ruined that.
Yeah. Well, anyway. So in this match, like you said, standard tag match. And then at the end, 98 Goldberg kicked out of the gore and pinned Rhino with a spear and a jackhammer to win the Impact tag team titles. All right, well, maybe by spear and a jackhammer I just meant a sunset flip, but nonetheless, it's all the same in the end. You ain't beating Chris Sabin on your best day or his worst day. It just don't happen. As the great Stone Cold Steve Austin would say, that's something you just don't do. So they didn't do it. And the Motor City Machine Guns are once again the Impact Tag Team Champions. For only the third time, it sounded like is what they said.
I believe so, yeah. And I think the announcers were listing other tag teams who had won it 3 times as well, which I believe is actually kind of a short list.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's your Impact. There's your Impact episode. It was Moose and Joe Hendry were on it. Not very much. Also, I checked out Joe Hendry's social media. We're not really getting that digital media championship over.
Ooh.
I don't really think he's doing anything. There was he posted some pic of himself sitting on some fucking looked like a giant Santa's sleigh type looking thing in a yard somewhere. Didn't have the belt. Come on, just have the belt on your shoulder or something. Yeah. It's digital media, right? You should be. You didn't take that photo with with actual film or.
And his gimmick is perfect for that. Like, he can do all kinds of different things of just shoots, videos, and just upload it to the social media accounts.
Yep. Well, maybe he's doing it on other social media accounts, but on his own personal accounts, nothing. Just boring shit. So, pretty lame, but, what can you expect from wrestlers these days? So yeah, that's it. That's all she wrote. That's a wrap. And other things that mean it's over.
Wrap that shit up, B.
Yep. You better wrap that gavel up. So I guess that's kind of the end here. Anything you want to plug or promote?
Yep, you can find me on Twitter at TransArchistTia, and as well as Twitch at Miss Tia the Transarchist. Probably going to try to get some more streams in this week, as I might do one Christmas night, not 100% sure. We'll see how that day goes. Mm-hmm. And of course, always every Monday right here on the Impact Attack of the Hameen Media Group. Whoop, whoop.
That's right. Hameen Media Group, channelattitude.com for all of the real talk from the pro wrestlers. Let's say I've got I've got a few things here on my cooking myself, and it's the end of the year, and that means that we should be probably thinking about Hammy Awards. I know you guys want to throw some votes this way, so make sure whenever RBV brings up the voting, that you'll be able to remember like who the real stars of Hummy Media Group are on the low key. They don't always put our shows in the promoted tweets and everything like that, but I think that's probably just because they don't want me to get too big of a head, right? Fat chance on that. My head will get bigger than Eddie Edwards and Sammy Callahan combined, and their gravitational orbit that would create. So yeah, there's a lot going on in that aspect, and we've got, of course, with me, you've got the Next Level Wrestling Review every Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. We've had like I said, this last week we had Dr. Jeff Littman from the PWC. The week before that, we have Mike Mondo on for an extravaganza that's always going to be available on YouTube. So if you missed that, just go to the Hummy Media Group YouTube channel and check out our big Mike Mondo special. And this week we're going to have Timmy Baltimore is going to come on with us, and he's going to talk some NXT, and we're going to tell some stories and reminisce and everything about OVW times probably. So please check that out. That's going to be fun. What else? Of course, at Opinion Haver on all these social media platforms, including Twitch, where you can watch me play games and yell at them. If you saw me playing Street Fighter 6 this weekend, you know what that's all about. It's always a good time. I can yell at people in games, and you can laugh at me for doing it. Let's see, what else? Always check out Q&A with Rip Rogers every Friday. They go live. He had Rene Dupree on this past week, which was pretty fun. Getting to hear them catch up on, like he and Rip and Rene go way back because he used to work for Renee's dad in the Maritimes. So, lots of fun stuff there on that channel with Von Lilas. Give them a look. Stevie Richards still got his all of his Stevie Richards fitness programs they're like 66% off till the end of the year. $9.99 to get a Stevie Richards fitness program. So
get on that shit.
That's right. You don't want to look like Eddie and Sammy, right? And with the holidays and all the food and all the goodies and everything, like this is the time when everybody gets fat. So, Stevie Richards is thinking of you, and he wants to keep you as close to fighting weight as possible. So, $9.99 a program, you got to at least look at it. You got to at least go to the website and consider it. So, there's that. And I believe that's all we got. Of course, a Channel Attitude subscription is a gift to yourself, and hey, why not sign up for the Russo brand too? I mean, again, we're only talking about one big cup of coffee just the way you like it. That's the only, you just don't do that one day of the month, and you can get a whole month worth of great content, hours and hours and hours of content. You'll drink that coffee in minutes, but you get hours and hours and hours of fresh content, and you get the entire access to the back catalog of everything else that we've done too. So it's really like, it's kind of like you're stealing from us even when you give us the subscriptions. So you're going to want to take advantage of that while it's still this price. Depending on the price of oil, Ben Hamid may change his mind at some point. So be sure to at least you can lock in for one more month a Channel Attitude and Russo brand if you're so inclined, and I think you should be, because not only is Ben Hameen on there with the Stevie and Russo to do the Raw and SmackDown reviews, but of course you got Black and White, which is one of my favorite podcasts, and that's worth the sign up alone. Even if Black and White only cost $5 a month, then you get Russo and Stevie Ray talking about important and relevant topics, and also goofing off and having fun, which is always the best part, right? So
sometimes you gotta do it to break the mood a little bit.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, if you haven't checked those out, please check those out. And I think I've shilled just about everything I possibly can. Um, so that's basically it. For Brandon, I have been the vet, and I don't have a sign off line.